Hi, welcome to the 3D Pendant. In the last video I posted, I made a star ornament, and since then I got several requests to modify it and scale it up to make it into a star that can go on top of the Christmas tree. We'll obviously need pen and filament and a tree. I have a little one to fit into my studio space for the purpose of this demo, but this will work for any size tree, real or artificial, as your need may be. Then you will need a pattern. Here is the one which you can get from the 3D Pendant Etsy store, which has 6 radiating sized stars. So since there is going to be 2 of each in this project, that makes it 12 stars for the 12 days of Christmas. If you would prefer to design your own, the 3D Pendant Etsy pattern also comes with 6 empty grids that you can draw your own stars and ornaments into. And a bonus, 5-pointed star, because you can never have too many stars. By the way, all this is linked in the description if you go looking for it. We'll also need a couple of simple extra tools to go 3D with this project, like 2 pieces of a square dowel and a 3D work surface. This one is super simple to make. Just stick a stiff wire into a board. It doesn't matter if it's round or square or an old rectangular cutting board, whatever you can get. The only thing that really matters is that the hole for the wire is perfectly perpendicular. Otherwise, the turntable won't spin right. You will need the same perpendicular hole in the middle of your regular work surface too, so you can use it on top of it. Mine is a plexiglass sprayed with matte acrylic finish. If you want to go super high-tech, you can add a washer between the layers. It will spin way easier if the surfaces don't rub against each other as much. And then we'll obviously need a hole in the middle of our pattern. And as always, make sure you stick the pattern to your surface with clips or tape, so it all moves as one unit. The patterns are color-coded green, red, and black for different lengths of the points. I like options. And we are ready to go. Whatever length of points you choose, make sure you connect it to the black lines in the middle around the wire. This is the spot where it will all hold together, so make it sturdy. The smallest size has only 8 points, because as the stars get smaller, there's just not enough room for 16 points. But that's a good thing, because it will give me a chance to show you how to transition between the layers in different ways. Let it cool before you remove it, so it doesn't deform on you. And then make a second star of the same size. Before you switch to the next pattern up, don't forget to cover it with your plexi. This one already has room for 16 points. Once you finish it, resist the urge to take it off the surface right away. It is way easier to attach the previous layer to this one while it is still safely stuck to the plexiglass. So there is at least one stable point in this universe. The other parts of this stack are not so conveniently stable, so we'll have to make them. with some needed eraser in this case, but you can use mounting putty or a masking tape, whatever you have on hand. Now comes that moment where you will need to connect 8 points on the top star to the 16 points on the bottom star. So on the top star you will connect all the 8 points and the 8 valleys to just the tips of the 16 points on the bottom star. Make the first 3 connections and wait. Count to 20 or something, to let them cool and stiffen well before you turn it. Then do the same thing to the other side. Count to 20 again. And now you can take off your dowel spacers. By now there's enough connections for the top star to stay suspended in the air. And you can finish the connections all around without any gear in your way. Okay, now you can take it off the surface. And before you move on to the next pattern up, don't forget to do the other side. I am going to show you one more layer, because now we will have to connect 16 points to 16 points, which sounds pretty straightforward, but it also has its issues. Here we will connect all the points to all the points, and also all the valleys to all the valleys. That is, if you can get to the valleys. I can, because my pen is relatively skinny and therefore okay in tight spaces. But if you have a bulkier brand of pen, you may not be able to reach in there. In which case, don't worry about it. Connect just the tips of the points and move on. Chances are you will be able to reach in there with the next size layer, or the one after that. And keep going until you have 2 stacks of 6 stars each. Now we will need a few things to mount it onto the top of the tree. Christmas tree colored filament, piece of white straightened filament, piece of stiff wire, and a round dowel, from which we'll make a long head pin, a long eye pin, and a flexible coil tube. To work with a wire of this size, it is helpful to put it in a vise if you have one. It will make your life a bit easier. Grab the end of the wire with your needle nose pliers, ideally at a point that is the right size for the loop you are trying to make. And make sure the wire doesn't stick out at the other side of the plier jaws. And twist and straighten if needed, and then center it. The loop needs to be ideally the diameter of your filament. Mine is a bit bigger, but close enough. This coil part you don't actually have to make, if you can find the right diameter dark plastic tubing. But sometimes it is faster to make one than to hunt for one. In which case, just steam the green or any dark color filament into a tube of the diameter you need for the top branch of your particular tree. The details of this steaming process are in several of my previous videos, which are linked in the description, so look them up if you'd like to know more. Specifically in the chains and the chainmail videos. This technique comes in handy every time you need a tube, even if you never make chains or chainmail or jewelry findings ever. So the idea here is that you will stick the tube onto the treetop, then stick the wire in it, and right here we'll mount the star with white filament head pin. There are a few ways to make a head pin, covered in the jewelry findings video, but here's a short recap to remind you. This pin is a bit shorter than we'll need for this project, but you get the idea. All right, time to put it all together. How long this white pin will have to be depends on the height of the spacer you used in between your stars, so plan accordingly. We will trim it later anyway, so give yourself enough room to spare. It's finally time to join the two halves together. Just double check that you remembered to put your wire eyelet in between. Okay. This paper tube is not as helpful as I hoped, because this pin will fall right out into it. So I will just do this on the table. I am going to seal the other side of the head pin shut with a piece of parchment paper and my wood burning tool with a button tip. And here we go, ready for the tree. So have happy holidays, and until next time, go and make something.